joined now in the studio by Obi Asika, who is a creative industries entrepreneur and convener of the Unveils. Good to see you and thanks for your time.
Nice to see you, man.
We have to quickly correct that. It's $100 billion, not Naira.
Not Naira.
So first, let's start by talking about that industry. How big and vibrant is the Nigeria creative industry?
I think Nigeria creative industry has gone way past potential. I heard somebody say potential in the report. I'm like, no, we're not talking about potential. We are where we are. And we've got here, to quote the Vice President, this sector arrived here in spite of government. And I love the fact that he said that because, yes, government has done little palliatives and grants, but they have never really stepped into the sector. And what this sector represents is Nigerians. It's the IP of Nigerians, it's the creative expression of Nigerians, and the opportunities are limitless. Because when you look at little countries, no disrespect to them, in Europe, in Asia, with 10% of our population, they have generated hundreds of billions of dollars from their creative economy. I believe we're at the beginning, so this global acquiescence and acceptance of our culture, our music, our dance, our literature, our art, our fashion, you can't buy it. It's not something you can force on people. It's happening naturally because it's authentic, it's our authentic expression, and it connects the world. And I was happy that the Vice President noted that 1 in 4 people, black people on the planet, are Nigerian. So Nigerians have an enormous responsibility to change the narrative. And it is the creative industries that has the opportunity to change that narrative and flip it. So you don't sit there in a defensive position about being black, about being African, about being in this world at this time. Yeah.
Great. I'm glad you say that the creative industry has grown organically in Nigeria. And we're almost tempted to ask, so why do you need government? What difference will government intervention make in the creative industry?
Enormous interventions. I'll use South Korea as an example. If you look at the South Koreans, they are nowhere near, with all due respect to them, they don't have the natural talent, the natural rhythm, the natural ability of the Nigerians. But intentionally, 30 years ago, the South Koreans put down policy and money to back K-pop and K-drama. Now the world is watching South Koreans, listening to K-pop, which is what is K-pop? It's functionally black boy bands like New Edition and Michael Jackson put into drill camps and pushed out, generating billions of dollars. A $12 billion industry per annum just on the music side. So the truth of the matter is, when you're blessed with natural talent, it's not enough. You need the levers of government, you need regulation, you need enforcement. When we do those things, our domestic market is still our biggest opportunity. So when everybody talks about the global market, that's great, but think about Nigeria. Think about the opportunity in Nigeria.
Because I think you just hit it on the head because we got here by dint of individual and collective hard work of people in the industry. I remember then, over 2 decades ago, individuals would go to radio stations, whether you like it or not. We were talking about payola. People were trying to see how they can make the people play these music. And even to watch our movies. It became almost an impossible thing. But today you travel, some of the key things people would want to hear from you the moment they find that you're Nigerian. Tell us about your home video. Tell about your music. And you drive in streets of London. Good. You drive in the streets of London and you put on the radio, you hear Nigerian sound. So it's gone beyond these individual efforts. So time for the government to come in. This is not a grant.
Not at all. It's not a grant. This is business. This is commercial. Good. And I think the most important thing for people to understand is a framework. I've spent some time engaging with the minister and her team and with the vice president and their team. And to be fair, I'm very impressed. I mean, the truth of the matter is, it's easy to be a naysayer. We've been in this thing a long time. We've heard government make a lot of statements, and people are very, very in their rights to be skeptical, because implementation is the key.
Yeah.
But the thing is this, is that once you understand, and once I hear the government and they've set up the ministry, when you come out and you understand that the most important thing in Nigeria is the Nigerian. That's who we are. That's what the creative industry represents.
Great. So let's talk about this roadmap that also, where the federal government will be raising a budget for the Ministry of Arts. What are the details of the roadmap? And roadmap really to where? What is the end game?
And the end game is to create a framework whereby the entire ecosystem can grow. In this ecosystem, it's about value chains. So I'll give you an example. Nigerian soft power, as I call it, over the last 10 years has grown enormously to the extent that Nigerian soft power easily has 1 billion followers in social media across multiple platforms. The missing gap is product, right? If we have 1 billion followers, that's enormous influence and power, but we don't have the value chain for product, for distribution, for And that is where you monetize. And that only happens when the environment is correct. It's not about lack of structure in the creative industry, it's about lack of structure in the country. So the disconnected marketplaces between Kano and Aba, the fact that the leather from Kano doesn't get to Aba to become product is a problem. The fact that you're sitting in Lagos and Don Jazzy cannot put out headphones made in Aba or made in Computer Village or wherever and sell them to the 200 million Nigerians who already know him and the 1 billion Africans who are already paying attention. So what we're talking about is low-hanging fruit. I think the key thing also is to understand there are no giveaways here. Yeah. It's about business, it's about capacity. Obviously, you have to train up people because we have a huge opportunity, but you can only really profit from the opportunity when you have the skills. So you do have to train up people, but you also have to create the opportunities. And one of these key opportunities is in stories and storytelling, understanding the power of stories, the power of our stories, of our culture. I'm sure Nigeria probably has more cultural festivals than any country in the world.
And I'm trying to also look at the end game now. You're talking about stories, also talking about working with governments. You know, time was when some Western countries came together to say, let's change the perception of our country to the extent that young people till date, even here in Africa, would think that there was a thing called Superman, there was a thing called Spider-Man, because you can actually use the creative industry to change the narrative. Where you, so is that also something that you think that key stakeholders and players
well, I think the thing is this, I mean,
are looking to drive in?
Let's be real with ourselves for a second, right? The unfortunate truth of the matter, I've been in this thing at least 30 years, is the biggest investors have not been Nigerian.
Say that again.
They have not been Nigerian. The big, apart from like self-starters like myself and many others who have been promoting, the biggest platforms investing in the Nigerian culture, history, music, fashion have not been Nigerian. It's been MultiChoice and Africa Magic who gave us the first distribution and the access to Africa. So we took Africa first. Then we took the UK. Now we're taking Europe. Now we're taking the world. But there was no intentional plan from the Nigerian government to say, hey guys, let's go. But we have done it. So now the government is coming along for the ride and we welcome them.
So how do you get to, get the buy-in of the private sector?
We have the buy-in of the private sector.
You have that already?
100%.
Okay, great. So
the thing is this, if Netflix is going to spend $500 million in Nigeria in the next 5 years,
I'm talking about the Nigerian private sector.
They need to wake up.
Not the Netflixes of this world.
But the truth of the matter is this, the Nigerian private sector needs to wake up and understand where value is created. At the end of the day, it is not enough to say, I don't understand this, I don't get the structure. IP has been financed for 250 years minimum. And IP of Nigeria is extremely valuable. You were talking about Superman. What's the difference between Thor and Shango? I'll tell you the difference, about $50 billion. Because we've left Shango and abandoned him. And Shango is just one of thousands. We have thousands of festivals, dances, hair, tourism. We have all sorts of stuff. But we have not been seen ourselves. When you see yourself,
we're going to be seeing ourselves now.
Well, I can't force you to see yourself.
Will the stories not be predictable?
Why would they be predictable?
Yeah, I know we have to, look at Shango and the rest of them. But
why would it be
can
predictable?
we rebrand Shango, for example?
We don't need to rebrand him. We just need to bring him to life.
Right.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Fantastic.
Because I'm also
because I think the branding conversation.
I think it's a big conversation, and
I'm
hoping that you can make it back again, so we can talk pretty much more about. Because I was saying something about our chi from the southeast.
There you
go.
go.
We can actually put it in.
Well, the chi is also the same chi in Japan.
Honestly,
you can say
of course.
That again.
So Obiasika, always a delight speaking with you, and we look forward to getting this done and dusted and be on top.
Creative Industries Entrepreneur, convener of the Unveils.
Welcome to the Unveils. Join us there. Okay.
Sure.